Bubble Busters!
This is a story about a wedding that I went to when I was in college. It was right before summer vacation. I was looking for a part-time job. I really want to buy this DVD, but I only got $3. I can't buy anything with this. Oh, help me. I need a job, like, now. Why are you asking me? Come on, help me. Actually, there is something. It's only for one day, but it pays pretty well. Oh, thank you. Thank you. You'll be working at a wedding hall. My boss told me to fill in for him, but I'm busy that day. What? A wedding hall, huh? I've never had a boyfriend in my life. I don't know. It sounds like a lot of responsibility. Oh, don't worry. All you gotta do is serve food and clean up. It's easy, trust me. You used to work at a restaurant, right? You'll be fine. I guess. But there's one thing I should probably tell you. So I decided to take the job. It wasn't that hard, and they taught us everything we needed to know that day before. So I wasn't that worried. Then, the next day, I headed over to the wedding hall. But something felt off. The bride and groom, they looked pretty normal, and their families were enjoying themselves. But the other guests, something was up. First off, there weren't that many of them. This one guy was sitting at a table by himself. And they were all wearing suits. They all looked like normal office workers. They had notepads and pens sticking out of their pockets. And nobody was paying attention to the bride or groom. They were all doing something else. Playing on their phones, reading books. This one guy, he was looking at the bride and groom, but he was glaring at them. Weakness analysis meter, 30%. Then they brought out the cake.
Who wants some cake?
Silence.
Enjoy your dinner.
Silence.
Now the bride will read a letter to her parents.
Silence. Weakness analysis meter, 60%. No entertainment? No speeches? What the hell is going on? The host tried to lighten things up, but it was no use. The bride seemed fine at first, but by the end, she looked pretty upset. Then, why is everyone ignoring us? This is crazy! This is the worst wedding ever! Then she started crying. The groom was starting to panic. Weakness analysis meter, 90%. The groom took her back to their room. The host tried his best to keep the party going, but it didn't really work. A few minutes later, they came back, but the bride was still upset. She couldn't stop crying. This was no wedding. It was like a funeral. It was so awkward. After the wedding, I overheard some of the staff talking.
I knew it would be bad, but wow.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it.
Oh well, I guess everything went according to plan.
Yeah.
What? What plan? What are they talking about? I better ask Janet. I wanted to keep listening, but I had work to do, so on my way home, I called Janet and asked her what was going on. Janet, that was the worst wedding ever. Did you know about this? I thought someone was playing a prank on me. Hey, thanks for filling in for me. I heard everything. It was pretty bad, huh? Huh? See, here's the thing. Weakness analysis meter 100%. Tell me now! Troublebusters! Then Janet told me everything. The groom, he looked like a nice guy, but he was the devil himself. He was a womanizer who did anything to get what he wanted. The guy was married until very recently. He even had a baby with his now ex-wife. But one day, he saw one of his colleagues walking with his wife. And he fell in love. The baby was only a few months old, but he didn't care. He kicked them out of the house and got a divorce. Then, he invited his colleague and his wife over for dinner and became friends with them. After he gained their trust, he started spreading false rumors about both of them. For instance,
Dude, your wife, she's been asking me out for drinks. I didn't know what to do, but I thought I should tell you. You should talk to her, man. Don't tell her I said anything, though.
then,
Your husband, he's always complaining about your work. Today he was about to throw out the lunch you made for him. So I ate it instead. It was pretty good, by the way. Anyways, don't tell him I told you this, okay?
it was all a lie. But they trusted him, so things between them started to get awkward. If they had more time to talk to each other, they probably would have realized that it was all a lie. But the husband was really busy at the time. He was in charge of this big project. He worked late every day and was often away on business trips. And who was put in charge of the big project to keep him busy? You guessed it, it was the groom. Soon they got sick of each other and got a divorce. Then the groom moved in on her. He started spending more time with her. Then, a few months later, he proposed and she said yes. Then they had their wedding. Oh, and the groom started harassing his wife's ex-husband so that he would quit his job before the wedding. He yelled at him for no reason, gave him bad scores on performance reviews, and stopped inviting him to meetings. He was already torn up from the divorce, so it didn't take long for him to crack. He quit his job a few weeks later. So, everything went according to plan. Well, not everything. After he proposed to her, the two of them started living together. But then, the bride saw his phone when he was in the shower and found out about everything. She wanted to break up with him, but she was scared. If he's capable of this, maybe he'll come after her family and friends. So she came up with a plan of her own. She tried to ruin the wedding on purpose so she could end things with him. First, she called all her friends and told them not to come to the wedding. And the groom didn't really have any friends. After what he did to his first wife and child, nobody wanted anything to do with him. The only guests that came were his subordinates from work. They all knew what he did to the bride's ex-husband, so they didn't want to come. But then, the bride told them about everything. So they decided to come so they could help her ruin the wedding. The bride told everyone about her plan, including the staff members at the wedding hall, so they knew everything. So all of his guests came wearing business suits, ignoring him the entire time. Then, well, you know the rest. Everything went according to plan. That's crazy. Yeah, everyone hated him. I guess they really wanted to get him back. I kind of feel bad for their families, though. Yeah, the bride's family knew, but I'm sure it was a nightmare for the groom's family. I'm kind of worried about his guests, though. He's their boss, right? Huh? Like, what if he tries to get revenge on them? I wouldn't worry about that. I heard they went to see their manager. They told him everything, all the horrible things he did. It's a pretty big company, and they got a zero-tolerance policy on harassment, so I'm pretty sure he's gonna get fired. I sure hope so. Oh, and it gets better. The groom and her ex-husband, they might get back together. After he quit his job, he had a lot of time on his hands, so they got together and had a long talk. They realized it was just a big misunderstanding, so hopefully they'll get married again. And he might sue him for damages too. I hope he tears him apart in court. A few months later, summer vacation was over. I ran into Janet at school. She told me about what happened after the wedding. The groom cried non-stop after the wedding. She told him that she wanted to end things with him, and his parents agreed. They had a long talk, and long story short, the groom agreed to end things with her. They were planning to go to the city office right after the wedding, so it was a close call. The next day, the groom went to work, furious at his subordinates. But before he could do anything, he got called up to the manager's office. He ended up getting demoted. Then he got shipped off to some dead-end position in the middle of nowhere. Everyone thought he was going to quit, but he didn't. Why? Well, because he couldn't. He had to pay his ex-wife and her ex-husband for damages. He needed the money. At first, he tried to ignore them. But she hired a really good lawyer, and he finally cracked. And the groom's ex-husband sued him for a lot, too, so he was screwed. He had to get a second job to pay off his debt. Oh, and his ex-wife and her ex-husband? They got back together. I was so happy to hear that. How did Janet know all of this? I have no idea. Janet and I were still friends, but I'm never gonna ask her for a job again. Anyways, glad everything worked out. Trouble Busters!